Welcome to Gold Derby's Meet the Experts panel. We are joined today by Andrea, Nix Fine, and Sean Fine, the writers, directors, producers of LFG on HBO Max. And this documentary, it chronicles the U.S. women's soccer team's quest for equal pay, and they take legal action against the U.S. Soccer Federation. I'm sure everyone in America and the world is aware of the story. I'm curious, what brought you guys into the project? The lawsuit was first filed in 2019. When did you come into the proceedings?
Oh, you want to go?
Oh, you're good.
Sorry. Right as the lawsuit was filed, a friend of ours and our co-producer came to us and said, "Hey guys, this just happened. What do you think? Do you think this is interesting? Do you think it'd make a compelling story?" And so we immediately do what we always do. We just started researching and digging in and looking into, what's behind this lawsuit. And as we started looking into it, there's decades behind this lawsuit. There's a lot of history. We're also looking at why are they suing their federation when they're so successful? Why is this the last straw? And it's pretty compelling when you find out what they're doing. And what we unveiled was this was a huge David and Goliath story that while it plays out in the press, kind of the underlying aspects of it aren't really understood. The emotional toll it takes on the players, really the reason they're doing it. And also the facts themselves are quite disputed in the public and falsely disputed. So we felt compelled to tell this story, one, very truthfully, and two, from their point of view, from their perspective, meaning the players, and show really what they're going through.
And Andrea, I'll come to you for this one. I kind of want to start with the judge's ruling where he ruled against the players, and watching all of the reactions from the players, I just felt my heart being ripped out again and again each time we went to another person. What were your reactions behind the scenes when the judge's ruling came down?
It was shock. I mean, I think we were just as shocked as they were. It wasn't like we had some special pulse into knowing more information than they did. I think their law team was shocked. And I think that's where it just hits that gut punch. And at that time, we were already in COVID, and we had already sent them little camera packages to sort of keep filming, but we never actually expected that we would be needing to record anything to do with a summary judgment, which is the judge's sort of take on the whole thing, saying, look, in the end of the day, does this move to trial or not? Is there enough merit in the case that it deserves a trial? And he ruled against them. And it was the last thing we ever expected. And I think it's one of the most emotional parts of the film. And I think for the first time, these women are so strong and they don't like vulnerability. That's kind of strength and power is their MO to get their work done collectively. And I still well up sometimes when I see that, because you feel for them, because you never see these women get their face break down and share with each other and kind of just sit with this information all together. And it was one of our favorite parts of the film. I think, that was the silver lining in some ways about needing to send people camera packages to finish your movie. But yeah, I'm forever indebted that they trusted enough to hit record. And when they did that and we were able to upload that, it was something quite special. And we had to be sensitive to the legal proceedings of the information. So you actually can't hear them, but you watch their face even more so because of that. And you're sort of watching this play out over their expressions. And it was very moving for us to start to see those come in.
And so much of the movie, it goes into their private lives, these soccer superstars, the Megan Rapinoe and Jessica McDonald. And was one of your goals to kind of bring us in so that we see them as just a normal everyday person? And how open were they to have cameras in their homes?
Yeah, I think that's kind of that's what we love about documentary filmmaking, is we like to get close to people. We like to connect with people. We like our cameras to connect with them. And I think for this, you had to understand how they live, how they normally live. You have to understand what they do on a daily basis in terms of their soccer career and being a professional athlete, and then also what they're doing with the lawsuit. So you have people like Megan, who are super famous, who, she opened herself up. She was the first player that signed on. We talked to her literally right after she got off the plane from France to New York right before the ticker tape parade. She met us, we talked to her, she's like, I'm all in. And then you have people like Jessica McDonald, who, you know, this was her first time ever on the US team and winning a World Cup. And she had worked her whole life to get, her whole career to get to that point, to be on the US team. And she's the only mom at that time on the team, a single mom. And, you know, she really opened up her whole life too, and was pretty vulnerable, you know, opening up her life. And she lived with a host family at the time. And you get in the film that she lives and shares a house with another family because she can't really afford her own house at the time. So, which is kind of crazy when you step back and think about it, which is why we filmed her as well. But yeah, they all, I think it's interesting, you know, I don't think we love getting as close as we can, and I'm the DP on our project, so I filmed really close. And it wasn't until Megan saw the film that she said to Andrea and I, like, I understand now why you were so close to me. Like, sometimes during that filming, I wasn't always loving the camera was so close, but she said, you actually see what I'm going through just on my face, the expression, without me telling you. I'm watching how upset I am, or how hard this is, or how tired I am. You know, it's little things in the film that you might not realize, but Megan yawns a lot throughout the film, and because she's exhausted. This is a full-time job on top of a full-time job. You know, the lawsuit is full-time on top of being the best soccer player in the world. That's incredible that they're able to do this. And then on top of it, yeah, let's bring you can come film this as well. So there's a third part of their thing. So it's
and I think it also just lends itself to, people are complex, right? And so you want to be people, while you might know someone like Megan Rapinoe, and you think you might, that was actually one of the comments we get back along the way was like, wow, you know, whether they loved her or hated her before, they saw her differently after. And that she's a lot more relatable, I think, and has, like, when she talks about her family and her brother's addiction and just kind of where she's from, and that she's evolved to be the person she is that people see, but there's all these layers behind her. And that was really important for us to be able to, like, make sure that people presenting these women as whole individuals. And same thing with Jessica, or even like Becky Sauerbrunn and Kelly and Sam Yu, as you start to meet them and see how they all kind of collectively depend on each other's superpowers, but there are such distinct individuals that care deeply about this, but they kind of come to it from different places. And I think that's one of the best things you can do in any documentary film, is make sure people are coming across with complexity.
And also, we talked about it before we started, because this isn't a sports film. Yes, they're the US women's soccer team, but this is a fight for equal pay. And they're famous and they play soccer, but their fight, you know, reverberates throughout the workforce with many different people. And so for us to be able to have viewers connect with them as individuals and people was almost more important than showing them as great soccer players, because we kind of all know that already.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I'm not really a huge soccer fan, but I knew their faces from the media, and it was so just eye-opening to see their personal lives. And somebody mentioned that she only makes like $15,000 per game or something. And that completely blew my mind, because you have this misconception that sports stars are millionaires. You know, every one of them just makes $1 million. And, you know, you couldn't really do this documentary without mentioning the political comments, you know, from Donald Trump, his tweets, and Joe Biden, his words of encouragement. Have you noticed over the past few years either the political landscape or public sentiment changing one way or another toward or against the equal pay debate?
I think people have gotten pretty comfortable spewing some hate and being pretty ugly. And I think, while I felt like I shouldn't have been shocked, but when these women start to come out and state their case, and, you know, on social media presence, or things are picked up on YouTube, it was really shocking to see some of the results that people felt pretty comfortable sharing, that are so misogynistic, that are so homophobic, and like scraping at, like, calling people inhuman, and just baseless, awful stuff. And I think that is something that I feel like is mirrored throughout the political system right now anyway. Like, right now we're making a film on January 6th, and it's pretty amazing to be able to look at what people are feeling more and more comfortable just putting out there. So I think that in that way, I saw that in the women's lives, like kind of rear its head, because everything feels political. And
but you also realize when people poke at something that is a bother in society, and when they're touching that nerve, you know, people are gonna be vocal back at them. So in a way, like even in the Olympics, you know, Trump mentioned even after the presidency in the Olympics, he started going after the US women's soccer team again,
right,
when they lost, even before they lost. Oh, you're so woke and this is your problem. So they're poking at something. He's the head of misogyny. So they're like poking at him, obviously, and hitting a nerve. So it's horrible, but I guess that's what happens when you're trying to make change and when you're trying to do good in the world. So.
And final question, guys, is there going to be an LFG 2? I mean, the story's not over yet. It continues. Are we going to see more from you?
We'll see. We talk to them all the time about what's going on. And they're, you know, we'll see. It's not ruled out, and we hope it's a happy ending, 100% happy ending. It should be.
Because, you know, this could go on for, you know, 2 weeks or 2 years, the appeal process, you know, because the US Soccer Federation and the players could settle at any time. So it's really in their hands, and it's kind of, they're the only folks that can play for one another, right? So it's sort of like a really bad family dispute that somehow has to come to the end of it. And I actually truly hope that US Soccer steps up and starts to self-reflect a little bit and figures out, well, where do we go from here? Because we can't keep having our players sue us, right? They can't keep having such an ugly fight in this house. So they, you know, they have to look inside it, and I think they could be a beacon for other folks who need to struggle to address the same thing, right? So
but US Soccer has a lot of work to do, and I mean, even with trying to make our film, even trying to get them to be interviewed in the film and be in the film and know about the film was just a huge struggle from them. They kind of control everything, and they declined to be in the film, so that's unfortunate. But hopefully they turn around, but I think it's like turning a giant aircraft carrier. It's going to take some time, but hopefully the women can force that turn.
Well, thank you guys for chatting with us today. We'll see you in a little bit for our panel discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.